Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm going to try something a bit different. I'm going to edit some of my long form story slash novel right now, recording it as I go, because I've been really enjoying this process of going back to a piece of writing that I started back in 2008, more or less. So, yeah, a while ago. And it's been fun in so much as what I'm finding is that I'm pleasantly surprised by my writing, and especially in terms of picking up on some ideas. I find myself going, "Oh, I wonder if we could do that," and then, "Oh, I did do it. That's cool." But also with more or less 20 years extra life experience, going back in and reordering sentence structure, picking up on themes, adding characters, and generally making it a better experience has been great fun. Because in that sense, I'm not, offending anyone by editing their writing. This is my writing, but I'm far enough removed from when I wrote it that it doesn't particularly bother me. Yeah. So I've just finished editing chapter 10. We're on chapter 11, A Cobble of Crows, and I'm going to start here. Eldridge emerged foot over threshold into the night air. The sky was clear. The moonlight played on the black rock of the castle as the water of a pond. The moonlight played on the black rock of the castle as the water of a pond. Reflected, I think. Reflected on the black rock of the castle as the surface of a pond. I think that's better. Giving the old man the appearance of an intrepid bather. He paused for a moment on the steps at the foot of a thin watchtower, gathering his red evening robes about him. Breathing warmth into his hands, he stepped out onto a wooden trackway, which stemmed from the bottom step. Well, I don't think we need from which stemmed from the bottom step. I think that can gan. What it's suggesting here. Hands as he stepped. No. Breathing warmth into his hands, comma, I think. He stepped out. Is that suggesting onto? Yeah, okay. Track. Wooden trackway. I think trackway is fine. The track. Ah. And that's good, actually. It means that I'm not repeating myself. Yeah. So the track winded along the silvery battlements between and around the tallest of the castle's towers. In this light, they seemed to point skywards as bony fingers in delicate silver gloves. He stopped to catch his breath, steady for a moment, coughing as his raw throat acclimatized to the cold air. Eldridge looked out between the crenellations to the moors. It was a windless night, and the drowned landscape shimmered in the moonlight. We've got a lot of shimmering in the moonlight, haven't we? Perhaps we don't need in the moonlight, just shimmered. It was a windless night, and the drowned landscape shimmered. I don't know, actually, no, I suppose in the moonlight makes sense there. In the moonlight. Let's just go back up to the moonlight bit. The moonlight reflected. Perhaps the moon reflected. No, the moonlight reflected on the black rock of the castle as the surface of a pond, giving the old man the appearance of an intrepid bather. Eldridge looked out between the crenellations to the moors. It was a windless night, and the drowned landscape shimmered in the moonlight. Shimmered in the silver light? Silver light of the moon? Maybe. It was a windless night, and the drowned landscape shimmered in the silver light of the moon. I think that's probably better. Tonight, even the dogs were silent, leaving Eldridge's breathing as the only interruption to the crisp night's soliloquy. The crisp night's soliloquy. Not sure if that's a bit pretentious. Eldridge's breathing, the only interruption to the quiet, crisp night. There we go. Because it's not like the night is saying anything, it's just being quiet. So, yeah, okay. Then he was off, careful to avoid frost on the planks as he traversed his well-trodden way. All about him the castle stretched out beyond his line of sight, hall, room, and window upon tower, wall and buttress, all layered in silver paper, set against the ink of the starry sky. Eldridge turned a corner. A carved beast glared at him. Its tongue... Oh, I'm not sure about that comma. Eldridge turned a corner. And found a carved beast glaring at him. A stone beast, perhaps. Glaring at him, its tongue dangling from its mouth. I think we can full stop that. He rested for a moment, leaning upon the gargoyle's horns. It's not a gargoyle, is it? It's a grotesque. Because it's not on the edge of a building and a place where water can flow away. So the grotesque horns, and looked onto the next stage of his trek. Looked onto, surveyed, I think. The next stage of his trek. From here, the way was straight. However, the battlements opened out into a wide, rectangular space to narrow again about the track some way away. Okay. From here, the way was straight. So let's see. Not only did he no longer have crenellations to steady him upon the frost, but this was the Raven's Roof. Oh, okay. From here, the way was straight. However, I think that's a full stop. However, the battlements opened out into a wide rectangular space. Narrowing once more. Some way away. Not only did he no longer have the crenellations to steady him upon the frosty track, but this was the Raven's Roof. I don't think we need the hyphen there. Maybe make that into a capital, so it's actually a thing. The Raven's Roof. A curious name, he had always thought, as there was not a raven to be found, I think, in the whole of Ravensholm. Exclamation mark. Rather, it was the territory of crows. Like a cobbled surface of hooded monks at prayer, the roof on either side was packed with sleeping birds, their cowled heads each tipped with silver. Okay. I'm not sure I understand exactly the geography of this. So we have the battlements open out into a wide rectangular space, and then they narrow again some way away. Not only did he no longer have the crenellations to steady him, so opened out away from the track. Into a wide rectangular, I'll get rid of that comma, rectangular space. Narrowing once more, some way away. I don't think we need to explain that just yet. Rectangular space. Not only did he no longer have the crenellations to steady him, to lean on, crenellations to lean on and steady his progress upon the frosty track. But this was the Raven's roof. Let's just check that again. Not only did he no longer have the crenellations to lean on and steady his progress upon the frosty track. No, along the frosty track. The frosty way? Along the frosty... along the frosty... Yeah, that's fine. But this was the Raven's roof. A curious name, he'd always thought, as there was not a... I want to put a single raven. There was not a single raven to be found in the whole of Ravensholm. Yeah. Rather, this was the territory of crows, like a cobbled surface of hooded monks at prayer. The roof to either side of the battlements. The roofs to either side of the battlements were packed with sleeping birds, their cowled heads each tipped with silver. But the thing is, they're like monks at prayer, but they don't actually have cowled heads, so maybe they're bowed heads, each tipped with silver. The monks at prayer. Sleeping birds, their bowed heads each tipped with silver. Okay. Carefully, with a creak from the track, he stepped out into the crow's den. Carefully, he stepped out into the crow's den. I don't think we need to mention the track creaking, because we have the frost cracking. The frost cracked beneath him as foot by foot he placed beneath his feet. As he carefully, well, no, I've already said carefully he stepped out in the crow's den. The frost cracked beneath his feet as with each step he was determined not to slip or wake the birds. Halfway, he stopped to take stock. Too far to warrant a return, though not yet safe. I think that's a full stop. His breath condensed upon his moustache, making it wet and flat against his lip. His top lip. His next step creaked. There you go. So now we've got a creak with a horrible volume. No. Creaked. With a horrible volume. I don't like that. His next step creaked. Ooh. He sucked in the air around him and looked from right to left. No, okay. So his next step creaked. I like the word horrible. Creaked with a horrible crunch. No, with a horrible... creaked horribly. No. His next step creaked with a horrible something in the night air. Uh, Thing I do mention he's sucking the air around him. His next step creaked horribly, just horribly. Cutting through the silence. Using lots of semicolons in this one. He sucked in the air around him and looked from right to left. Well, no, not it didn't suck in all the air around it. So he sucked in. He sucked in the cold air. Looking from right to left. He sucked in the cold air. What's that sensation when you sort of, you know, as if attempting to erase the last few moments. No. Sucked in the cold air as if in the cold air. In horror? No, I've already said horribly. Horribly cutting through the silence. Sucked in the cold air. In anticipation. And held his breath. Looking from left to right. Or right to left. A single crow stirred for a moment, gently calling out and adjusting its wing. I'll get rid of that comma. Stirred for a moment, gently calling out, adjusting its wing, all the while with closed eyes. No. All the while. Adjusting its wing. A single crow stirred for a moment and gently called out and adjusted its wing. But thankfully, no. Stirred for a moment, gently calling out. Gently cawed. Caw! Cawed and adjusted its wing. Adjusted itself. I think that's fine. Eldridge sighed and continued on his careful way. Sighed. I think they need something. Sighed with relief, I think. Because he wasn't just going, crows. It's more like a, whew. So, yeah. Eldridge sighed with relief and continued on his careful way. Finally, he made it to the far side and paused for a moment. Resting where the battlements once again narrowed. I think that's okay. After getting his breath back, after maybe slowing his heart rate, paused for a moment. I think he turned to face his goal. Having slowed his heart rate. No. So, I don't know. So, he's just been a bit anxious. He's sort of. So, having. Successfully made it across. I think that's okay. Once again, no. Finally, he made it to the far side and paused for a moment, resting where the battlements once again narrowed. Having successfully made it across, he turned to face. Okay. Resting where the battlements once again narrowed, I don't think he necessarily. There's no indication that he's turned around, is there? Not turned, but he looked up towards his goal. Having successfully made it across, he looked up towards his goal. Don't necessarily need a comma there. Across, he looked up towards his goal. A great iron dome set into a turret. Set into a turret in the wall. A great iron dome set into. Let's say set upon a turret. In the curtain wall or in the wall? I don't think we need to say in the wall because he's on the wall, I think. A great iron dome set upon a turret. Ahead. Looked up towards his goal. He looked up towards his goal. A great iron dome set upon a turret. Just ahead. Just ahead, yeah. He smiled, and after slipping momentarily on the frost, he smiled. And after slipping momentarily, that's a weird one, isn't it? And after slipping momentarily on the frost, he smiled and set off with a slight slip on the frost. Well, I don't know, actually. I don't think we need any of that, actually. Turret just ahead. And then we know where he's going, so we can get rid of that. With a sharp jerk, Eldridge forced an iron handle set into an iron door. Forced the handle set into an iron door against the frost and opened it with an unexpected metallic screech. Unexpected? Really unexpected? With a sharp jerk, Eldridge forced the handle set into an iron door. Against the frost. I don't think we need that. Iron door and opened it with a frosty There we go. Frosty metallic screech. Suddenly the crows were up, screaming, disturbed from their pious slumber. A tremendous noise of wing and caw filled the night sky. Full stop. Thank you very much. The crows sought out anyone who might be to blame for their rude awakening. Eldridge suddenly burst into action, jumping into the dome and slamming the iron door shut. Now, I said iron door twice there. I'll say iron handle set into a door. Iron handle set into a door and opened it. No. And opened the door, in fact. Eldridge forced the iron handle, opening the door to the dome with a frosty metallic screech. So with a sharp jerk, Eldridge forced the iron handle. With a sharp jerk, Eldridge forced the iron handle, opening the door, and opened the door to the dome. Well, no, the iron handle upon the door. The iron handle upon the door to the dome with a frosty metallic screech. I like that. I think that's better. So with a sharp jerk, Eldridge forced the iron handle upon the door to the dome with a frosty metallic screech. Suddenly the crows were up, screaming, disturbed from their pious slumber. A tremendous noise of wing and caw filled the night sky. The crows sought out anyone who might be to blame for their rude awakening. Eldridge suddenly burst into action, jumping into the dome and slamming the iron door shut. The crows were left to slam into the dome. The deafening contained echoes were penance enough for this. Okay. Oh, the deafening contained echoes. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. So I don't think we need contained echoes. The deafening noise was penance enough for his disturbance. Yep. Crows were left to slam into the dome. The iron door shut. So he slams the iron door shut. The crows were left to slam into the dome. No. The murder of crows, perhaps. Yeah. No. The angry crows. The angry birds? The angry birds. No, I don't want the angry birds. The angry crows crashed into the door. The deafening noise was penance enough for his disturbance. A while passed in silence. After a while, silence descended. I like that. And Eldridge slumped against the door, could breathe again. I quite like slumped against the door could breathe once more. After a while, silence descended. After a raucous while. Is that how you spell that word? There you go. Raucous. Raucous while. Silence finally descended. And Eldridge, slumped against the door, could breathe once more. He had made it. Though he was not as young as he once was, and once again, on the night of the passing Lord, the librarian would check the night sky for a sign of the new Lord's fate. It was not the passing, though, is it? The night of the Lord's internment. We just had a funeral, basically. On the night of the Lord's internment, he had made it, though he was not as young as he once was, though he was reminded that he was not as young as he once was. Once was. However, it was his duty on the night of the previous Lord's internment, his duty as librarian, on the night of the previous Lord's internment, to check the night sky for any sign of the new Lord's fate. This was the great observatory of Ravensholm, a place for the learned man. Well, for the learned, I think. The place for the learned and not easily burned, he grimaced. Yeah, there's been a library fire earlier in the story, or an archive fire. So, I was going to go over that one more time. He had made it, though he was reminded that he was not as young as he once was. I don't know. I wonder if he was reminded once again. But I don't want to keep on. There's lots of onces going on there. He had made it, though he had been reminded. Yet again. Yeah, I think that's probably actually okay. Though he had yet again been reminded that he was not as young as he once was. However, it was his duty as... Now, he does have a title, which turns up earlier in... So, yeah, in chapter 4, Eldridge, he introduces himself. Eldridge Levermas, the keeper of records and custodian of the libraries and archive. Okay. I reckon I'm going to have to use that, methinks. And maybe actually capitalize as a title. That probably makes sense. Okay. Incidentally, Levermast, it's not particularly deep, but I figured it sounds like it could be something mechanical. You know, it's something which is yeah, the two words kind of go together, lever mast, but actually it's llyfr, book, master of books, basically. Lever mast. I figured it was a fun little bit of Welsh reference there. Right, so where are we now? The Waking Bull, that's the previous chapter. And however, it was his duty as, insert here, keeper of records and custodian of the libraries and archive, comma, on the night of the previous lord's interment, to check the night sky for any sign of the new lord's fate. However, it was his duty as keeper of records and custodian of the libraries and archive on the night of the previous lord's interment to check the night sky. Yeah, that makes sense. This was the great observatory of Ravensholm, a place for the learned. Should I put in a thing? Yeah, the learned. I don't know, do I need that? I'll have a think about that. Learned and not easily burned, he grimaced. There we go. So yeah, he's made it to his destination. I think I'll leave it there. I won't subject you to much more of this, but I am very much enjoying this this process. And the great thing is that the writing is there. There's something that clearly younger me was trying to convey, and to the broader theme of the book, of the story as it's unfolded is fairly sound. But as I say, I've actually taken great pleasure in going, that's good, but what if we did this to help with that? And actually, often when you come in and you make those sorts of changes, suddenly other things slot into place, and you go, oh, and that feeds into that motivation, or this is why that can happen. It's wonderful, and it's even better because it's my words. Like I say, I'm not offending an author by coming in and editing their work, because this is my work. It's just been a long time since I wrote it, so I get to have the best in that sense, the best of both worlds. I can completely play with this and make it better. And I would highly recommend it. Yeah. Write something, leave it for 18 years, and then come back and edit it. It's not the best in terms of, if you're on a schedule, it's not the best technique or strategy, but it is great fun. And yeah, that's that for now, I think. If you want to see more of this, let me just head back to the screen. If you want to see more of this over on my website, you can go to blog and then click on Project Ravensholm, and we have the chapters published in sequential order. So chapter 1, 2, 3. For some reason, on the desktop version, it goes 4, 5, 6. I don't understand that at all. Because it's 21st of March, 15th of April. Oh, 27th of March. Ah. Yeah, why is that before? Anyway, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the mobile version, it is in sequential order. Maybe it's going to go... No, it makes no sense. I'll have to see what happens when number 7 goes up. That might clarify things for me. Anyway, they're there, and you can make your way through. I am going back, and as I just did, actually going back and checking things, and maybe editing previous chapters based upon things that happen later, sort of, to add foreshadowing or add some relevant terminology here and there. So none of this is final. It's all being worked on, but I'm enjoying it immensely. And it's largely been inspired by the fact that for the past few years, we've been hosting, I say we, but also the people who take part have been taking part in, and I've been hosting the moots, the writing moots, for Halloween and Christmas, New Year. But also as well, this year, I'm thinking of doing a midsummer moot. So I'm not sure what the theme will be. Actually, no, I think I do know what the theme might be, but I won't announce it here. But yeah, it's an opportunity to write a short story and we share them together on that live stream. And I don't know, it felt like the right time to be returning to this long story and giving it some love, care, and attention, and also the benefit of 20 years of lived experience. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully this has been interesting and not too cringe. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.